The first pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jameis Winston.
All y'all know is to eat the W. Y'all don't know that whole day, bro. We had no shot to win that day.
I say this, I would cut Jameis Winston today. I would not want him on my team.
We decided as a team to do it, and man, we got an interception to the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
You know, like, so if we would have scored, would it still would have been disrespectful?
Right.
You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime, and I know I got a quote. You know, Eminem, he from Detroit, he right up the road, but man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that the Lord provided me with this opportunity. I'm grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and these amazing fans.
This dude gotta be one of the funniest players in the NFL. Jameis Winston has been in the NFL for almost 10 years now. And let's just say that his career has been very interesting, to say the least. In today's video, we're going to be looking back at Jameis Winston's career and see why he was one of the best quarterbacks coming out of his draft class and also one of the most frustrating quarterbacks coming out of his draft class. Now, before we get started, as always, gotta give honor to God, because without him, I wouldn't be able to do this. And real quick, go ahead and press that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Now, without further ado, cue the intro. Coming out of high school, James was labeled as a 4-star recruit and would eventually end up committing to Florida State. During his 2 years at Florida State, James completed 66% of his passes while throwing for 7,964 passing yards with 65 touchdowns and 28 interceptions, while also being the national champion and the Heisman Trophy winner as well. Now, even before making it to the NFL, Jameis had some pretty funny sound bites, and this moment was really the first Jameis Winston moment that he had in his football career.
I said, are you strong? They said, I'm strong if you strong. And I said, we strong then.
With this success coming out of college, Jameis will end up being the #1 overall pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2015 draft. In his rookie season, James completed 58% of his passes while throwing for 4,042 passing yards with 22 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, while also making the Pro Bowl this year. Then in his sophomore season, James completed 61% of his passes while throwing for 4,090 passing yards with 28 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. Then in the 2017 season, James completed 64% of his passes while throwing for 3,504 passing yards with 19 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And it just so happened to be that in the 2017 season, Jameis gave us this hilarious moment. Go ahead and play it.
Hey, I want everybody to look at me. I'm going to pass it to corner after I say one thing. No. What the hell? No. That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight?
Bro, you know what's even funnier about that moment is that Gerald McCoy and Deshaun Jackson, former teammates of Jameis Winston at that time on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they would later recall that moment on the podcast, and I'm going to leave a link to that in the description so you guys can check it out yourselves. Alright, now that we got that moment out the way, let's go ahead and get back into the topic of this video. Now, James will be suspended for the first 3 games in the 2018 season for, let's just say, just being inappropriate with a female Uber driver back in 2016. Then coming back from his 3-game suspension, James will be in and out of the lineup, but he will end up completing 65% of his passes, throwing for 2,992 passing yards with 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Then the 2019 season brought upon probably the most infamous season that we've ever seen at the quarterback position. See, in the 2019 season, James would complete 61% of his passes while throwing for 5,109 passing yards and 33 touchdowns. But this will also be the season where James will throw many interceptions. He threw 30 to be exact. So there you have it. Jameis was the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, while also throwing for over 5,000 passing yards. Now, this season will be Jameis' final year on his contract, and with the team going out and signing Tom Brady in the offseason, this pretty much marked the end of Jameis Winston's time in Tampa Bay. But a team down south will give him a chance, and let's just say it was a team that I did not expect him to sign with. The New Orleans Saints will end up signing Jameis Winston to a one-year deal to backup quarterback Drew Brees. It was during this season where Jameis really spent most of his time on the bench. But with Drew Brees' retirement at the start of the 2021 offseason, this gave Jameis Winston a chance to prove himself worthy as being the Saints starting quarterback. Jameis will start the 2021 campaign off hot, completing 70% of his passes while throwing for 148 passing yards with 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And after this game, we will have, once again, another Jameis Winston moment.
I just think we were prepared. You know, one thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.
And prepared they were. Not only was Jameis Winston playing mistake-free football for the most part at the start of the season, but he had also completed 59% of his passes while throwing for 1,170 passing yards with 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But on Halloween in 2021, against his former team, I might add, this happened.
Trouble here, he steps away, keeps it alive, and takes off. Tied by Devin White.
Jameis Winston has suffered a torn ACL injury with damage to his MCL as well. But that didn't stop him from celebrating the team win in the locker room after the game. Now, in the 2022 season, Jameis was looking to not only bounce back from his injury, but prove to the organization why he deserves to still be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. In the Week 1 matchup to kick off the 2022 season, Jameis had completed 68% of his passes while throwing 269 passing yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the Atlanta Falcons. And at the end of this game, this led to, you guessed it, another Jameis Winston moment.
What's the pain, Jameis?
Yeah, just pain. It was pain everywhere. So we got to keep on pushing through and being resilient.
So Jameis and the team were looking to use that momentum from that Week 1 comeback against the Falcons to fuel them for the rest of the season. But there was just one problem with that. See, going into that Week 1 game against the Falcons, Jameis was dealing with an ankle injury, which led to this Jameis Winston moment.
Our body is so symmetrical, right? You got your wrists, you know, and then what are your wrists on the bottom half? Your ankles, you know, you got your shoulders up top. What are your shoulders? Your hips, you know what I'm saying? You got your elbows. What are your elbows? Your knees, right?
And during the duration of that game, Jameis was getting pretty beat up, which is why he said there was pain everywhere. So later in the week, Jameis is now dealing with an ankle injury plus a back injury. And that back injury will plague him for the next couple weeks against Tampa Bay and Carolina. So with the injuries now being a factor into Jameis's play, the team has decided to switch to veteran quarterback Andy Dalton. And when they made that move, Jameis didn't see the starting position for the rest of the year. Now don't get it twisted. I understand why the team switched gears from Jameis Winston to Andy Dalton because Andy at the time gave him a better chance to win. But at the same time, you got to feel for Jameis because in the prior season, he basically missed a good portion of the season because of the torn ACL injury. Then this season with the whole ankle and back issues, that ultimately ended up being the final nail in his coffin in his time in New Orleans. Because after that, the team would go on to sign Derek Carr and Jameis Winston would be really relegated to the backup role. So it really is a good what-if type of question. What if Jameis didn't get hurt against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Would the Saints have made a good playoff run? We'll never know. What if Jameis didn't get derailed by injuries to his ankle and his back during the 2022 season? Would he have proven himself to be the Saints franchise quarterback? Again, it's hard to tell now with hindsight being 2020, but like I said, I just felt he got dealt a bad hand, and at this point, it is what it is now. Anyway, looking back at it, in 3 games, Jameis completed 64% of his passes while throwing for 858 passing yards with 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So like I stated earlier, the team had went out and signed Derek Carr in the 2023 offseason, and Jameis had basically become Derek Carr's backup. Now, when Derek Carr had to leave the field because of injury during the season, Jameis stepped in and he had a few good moments here and there, but it was the final game of the 2023 season against the Atlanta Falcons where Jameis was the big headline for the wrong reasons. The Saints are currently up on the Falcons 41-17 at this point, with the game pretty much in hand. The Saints had gotten in this position with Tyrann Mathieu previously picking off the Falcons, getting close to the touchdown, but ended up being at the 1-yard line. Then, when it looks like the Saints were about to kneel and take the victory, this happened.
You know, there's a lot of factors that cause you to not be successful, and as we watch this touchdown.
Oh, man.
Jameis Winston had just handed the ball off to Jamal Williams in what would be his first and only touchdown for that season. Falcons coach at the time, Arthur Smith, was butthurt over this. And then in the post-game interview, this is what Jameis Winston had to say in regards to that moment.
I asked the guys, I say, guys, like, what do you want to do? Yeah. We know how much Jamal means to this team, but D.A. didn't condone that at all. Yeah. You know, he didn't. However, we decided as a team to do it, and man, we got an interception to the 1 yard line. Yeah. You know, like, yeah. So if we would have scored, would it still would have been disrespectful? Right. You know, so.
Now, here's my take on that whole situation. Yes, the team was in the wrong for still scoring a touchdown in kneeling formation, which, if you know football, the kneeling formation is basically winning formation, basically saying that you've won the game, right? But at the same time, it's like what Jameis said. Had the team scored that pick six, would it really matter? The only reason why people didn't like it was because they were in kneel formation and they still handed the ball off when the game was pretty much decided. So that's the only reason why people didn't like it. Now, granted, like I said, it was disrespectful, but at the same time, it's like, would it really matter? Now, had they came out in, you know, a goal line type formation and handed the ball off and scored, then it wouldn't have really mattered that much. People probably would have been mad if they would run up the score at that point, but it is what it is now. Now, with the 2023 season being the final year on Jameis' contract, Jameis will hit free agency and ultimately end up signing with the Cleveland Browns. Now, during the 2024 season, there was some speculation on whether or not the team should switch to Jameis because of Deshaun Watson and the team struggling at that point. But Deshaun Watson ended up tearing his Achilles, and that ultimately led to Jameis getting another shot at being the starting quarterback in the NFL. Currently, in the 2024 season, Jameis has completed 61% of his passes while throwing for 2,121 passing yards with 13 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. It looked like for a little bit that Jameis was showcasing why, once again, he deserved to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But then, in a Monday night matchup against the Denver Broncos, Jameis, well, he basically gave you the whole Jameis Winston experience. In this random yet exhilarating Monday Night Football game, Jameis completed 59% of his passes while throwing for 497 passing yards and 6 total touchdowns. But see, the only problem was that 2 of those touchdowns were towards the other team, and he ended up throwing 3 total interceptions in that game. With the Browns' season not going as planned and Jameis having 2 poor performances after the Monday Night Football game, the team will end up going in favor of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and at the time we're recording this, Jameis is currently dealing with a shoulder injury and has been relegated to the number 3 quarterback on the depth chart. So, now we've reached the point of the video where we ask ourselves, what is Jameis Winston's legacy? And in my opinion, I think his legacy is a guy who has really been through a lot in his career, from being the number 1 overall pick to having all those expectations that come with it, to having a few sparks here and there, but then ultimately having that season where he threw 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns. And then he ultimately had to find himself again. He had to take some time to sit behind one of the greatest in the game, being Drew Brees. And then he ultimately almost had a good comeback, but then injuries ended up derailing his career. And he's still in the league. He's still doing what he loves. And at this point, he's just enjoying life being the quarterback in the NFL. Now, I get it. There's a lot of people out there that don't like Jameis, and there's a lot of people out there, including myself, that loves the guy. But at the end of the day, there's one thing that we can agree on about Jameis, and that's the fact that he's basically out there enjoying his life. Okay, this is a man that was the Heisman Trophy winner, a first-round draft pick, had expectations set on him to help lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into being a prominent and serious franchise once again. But at the end of the day, things happen. And things didn't go to plan for him, but at the end of the day, the man's still enjoying himself. He's still enjoying the game that he loves to play. Okay, and you can see that from his pregame and postgame interviews. And I feel that that's the lesson from this whole video, that no matter how many times you get knocked down in life, you have 2 options. A, you can stay there, or you can pick yourself back up, look at the positives in life, and live to throw another day. And yeah, that's pretty much the video. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching. Again, the goal is to take this channel to another level higher in 2025. Again, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on videos like this one. Appreciate the love and support. And as always, KGF, keep God first.